Hello, I'm Kieran O'Connor and welcome back to the Calculated Risks podcast. Before we introduce today's guest, we have an announcement, and that is today is the final episode of season 1. But don't worry, season 2 is already underway and those episodes will be released early into 2026. But today's guest is Aimee Bateman. She's an exited founder and now an executive coach who focuses on empowering women to reconnect with who they are and truly find out what they want from their career. Hello, Aimee. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I was speaking to you before, and you're a bit of a veteran. You've done lots of podcasts and radio presentations.
I have, yeah. Media has kind of been my career, really. Yeah.
But this is one of the first ones in a studio like this.
For about a year, yeah. I haven't. I've been laying low for about a year, so yeah.
I've brought you back out. Yeah. Brought you back out of media retirement for our final episode. So I really appreciate you coming on for the last one. Such a big. I can't believe this is episode 24. We only started 6 months ago. So thanks for coming on.
No, I mean, I like this podcast. It's cool to see the studio because I normally just watch it on YouTube. So it's, nice to be here.
Yeah. I start same way, copy of my book. So here it is.
Thank you.
You can keep that somewhere, hand that out to someone who needs it. And maybe we might see a book from you one day with all your knowledge that you've built up.
It says 33 ways to become a better recruiter and human.
Don't forget that part. That's the most important part.
Yeah, that's actually why I like you, Kieran, is because, you definitely, you're a good guy. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that. We start the podcast the same way every single time. I'm fascinated by people and their ability or lack of ability to take risks, no right or wrong. So let's go back to the beginning. What was the first risk you ever took in your professional career? How did it play out? So
the first risk in my professional career didn't play out very well, but I don't really care. So I was like 22. I had a job in recruitment and my mum was poorly. My mum, bless my mum, she's a gorgeous human. She passed away last year, but my mum had addiction problems and she was drinking quite a lot. And at this point when I was 22, she was really severely poorly. She was in and out of rehab and there was nobody to look after her. So she had to move in with me and my then boyfriend, who was a saint. And I just couldn't look after her in the way that I needed to and still work recruitment. Like, you know the gig, right? It's like 12 hours a day. It's pretty full on. So I quit that job in a business with a really lovely man who was my manager. And there was a lot of tears shed. But to start my own concierge PA company, I was 22, didn't know what the hell I was doing and made loads of mistakes. And I was quite savvy with money. Quite early on, I bought a house, but I nearly lost my house. It was like 2010 when they were giving out mortgages to pretty much anyone. I think it was like 3 months out of university, and they were like, have a graduate mortgage, 110%. So I had a house and all that, but just ended up giving credit to everybody because I just thought, well, I'd never screw anyone over, so surely nobody would screw me over. And for the 2 years that I ran that business, I was owed a lot of money, made every mistake you can possibly imagine, did a lot of things right, but made lots and lots of mistakes and pretty much had to close it. Otherwise, I would have lost my house. So, but it did allow me to be flexible and be there for my mum. But so that was like the first risk. I ever took in business, in my professional life. Yeah, that's quite a big risk, actually. That's massive thinking about it.
I think that's very big. For 22 years of age to leave a secure job.
Yeah, fearless I was. I still am a little bit. Yeah.
And the main motivator for that was to look after your mother.
I mean, I was always going to be an entrepreneur. I was always going to be, of my core values, my inner compass values, my North Star is independence, and it has been since a very young age. I spent a lot of time in and out of foster homes, and I was pretty much independent from, like, it's in my DNA. So I was never going to sit on anyone's payroll for long. So it was always going to happen. But at that time, it just happened while I didn't know anything. But hey, learned some lessons, made some nice friends.
Yeah, and it lasted 2 years. So 2 years, to do that at 22, for it not to work out and then still be okay financially and socially,
Yeah, it was tough financially. But I went back into recruitment, and luckily for me, I love people and I love my work. I love my work. So I got out of that financial hole quite quickly.
So that was at 22. Let's fast forward to now. I know you're in a different stage of life right now, like most people are as they grow into their 30s and 40s. What's your risk tolerance like now?
Not as much as it was. My husband would be very, very delighted about that. I'm married to a financial auditor who's very, very risk averse, which is good because I'm the opposite. But since I had my boy, my little boy, I'm not as. I definitely still take risks, but obviously, more calculated and more calculated. There's more consideration, and I don't have the. I wouldn't say I don't have the ambition that I used to have, because I'm definitely still ambitious, but it just looks and feels different now at this stage of my career.
Yeah, so I imagine the decision-making process might be a little bit more calculated. You might think about the factors involved, like family, risk versus reward, return on investment, rather than just go into it quickly. Because at 22, to do that sounds like that was a rather quick decision.
Yeah, the biggest learnings there are that I didn't know who I was when I was 22. And I have a really good understanding of who I am now. And that's different for everybody. I mean, I work as an executive coach. I work with leaders and founders all the time. And, I could have somebody at 25 turn around and know exactly who they are, and somebody at 55 look in the mirror and go, who am I? How did I get here? So I always think, it's almost like the meaning of life, isn't it? Is, for me anyway, it's just to just meet yourself. Like, you grow up and you try and fit in within your family, and then you go to school, and as an adolescence, it's just a nightmare, and you're just trying to figure out who you are and try and be cool, try and be whatever. And then you join the workplace and you're just trying to fit in, and you become a parent and you're somebody else to somebody else. There's you spend your whole life meeting other people's expectations. But there's not a lot of people that just stop and think, who am I? What do I need? What does my soul need? And I've got a really good understanding of that now. I didn't when I was 22. So I know now when a risk is genuinely worth taking, and when it might just look good and shiny, but actually it's not actually going to make me happy or worth it. And that only comes from knowing who you are and some level of a self-discovery journey.
We're going to come back to that topic later, because I love that topic. And coincidentally, my post today on the socials was, I think that's actually a superpower, to understand who you are to a great level of detail. And then on Friday this week is Daniel Stanley's episode, who is also a male executive coach. And he works a lot on identity and working out who you are, and like personality traits as well. So we're going to come back onto that, because I love that topic. But let's go back to the beginning, because I know you started your career in recruitment.
I did.
But just before that, talk to me about
across the road, in fact.
Across the road.
From where we are now. I just walked past my old office.
Just before your first job then, what did you do in terms of education? And did you go? And tell me about that.
Yeah, so I repeated a year at school. My upbringing was, a lot of people have a lot of more drama than I had, but it certainly wasn't textbook hunky-dory. And I was in a number of foster homes through my teenage years. So didn't do very well at school, was very rarely there, had to repeat a year. And even that didn't even motivate me, to be honest. It was and especially when you're 16 and all your mates are going to college, but you have to stay and be in the lessons with the kids that were in the year below you. But I just needed a way out of the system, and university was that for me. And I was the first person to go to university that had been in social services care for 9 years or something, from the county that I was living in Pembrokeshire. But I just needed a way out of the system. I was very clear that I needed to get as far away from where I was as quickly as possible, and that I was certainly going to live the life I make, not the life I was given. I watched my mum, her third marriage, very, very unhappy, and he was also her employer. I just needed to get out as far away as I could. And university was it's the easiest thing to do, right? You don't have to worry about where to live. You don't have to worry about a job. You just
get out on the weekend.
Yeah, you just get a student loan. And I applied for the first place that I could get into. Well, no, the first place I could get into refused me, and quite rightly so. Although they've given me an honorary fellowship since then, but I certainly wasn't smart enough to go as a student, like a proper student. And it was like a new start for me. I moved 120 miles away. Nobody knew me. Nobody judged me. Nobody could call me the care kids. It was completely new. And I worked really, really hard. Had a lot of jobs. I very rarely went out. I actually bumped into somebody in the park recently. She's like, I went to uni with you. And I was like, yeah, we probably weren't friends though, because I didn't have many friends. I didn't go out much. But I did work really hard. And then I got my first job literally across the road from here, my graduate placement. I finished my final exam on the Thursday and I started my job on the Monday. So a lot of people were going out drinking, traveling, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't have anywhere to live because our university accommodation finished when our exams finished. So there was nowhere for me to go. So getting a job lined up actually 6 months before I finished my exams was pretty much what I needed, right? It was like there was nobody coming to look after me, kind of thing. And it was the making of me. Yeah, it was recruitment, like one of the hardest things you can do, selling people for a living. Like it's just super, super hard. But I do then and still now wake up every morning thinking, you know, how many people can I love today? I'm like a bit of a walking, talking Labrador. I can be fierce as hell when I need to be, but the majority of the time I'm just love people and helping them. So recruitment was the best job for me, and I was good at it. And I was good at making the money, and what that does to a human being for 8 hours a day when you go somewhere and people see, hear, and value you. It's the most incredible glow up you can ever imagine, because I was being judged for a completely different reason now, and people saw me and valued me more than they had ever valued me. I grew up feeling I just wanted to stay invisible a lot of the time because it was safer to just stay quiet. But no, I mean, people didn't see me. I remember one Christmas, a family I was living with, I remember one of their sons, we went to their sons for Christmas and they were like, oh, we've put a stool at the end of the table for the care kids. And that was my Christmas day. And all of a sudden, people are sending me on holidays. I'm winning awards. I'm getting bonuses. I'm getting stood up in. It was just incredible. And I realized that I started liking myself. And I realized if I can help everybody, because I'm not a life coach and I'm not a relationship coach, I'm not a money coach, but I do know how to get people into jobs where they are successful. If I can do that for 8 hours a day for people, I can help them be better mums, dads, brothers, sisters. Like when they're driving, they can feel good about. I remember driving home from Newport, like this exact place, driving home in my little £50 car, and like feeling almost like self-esteem running through my veins, and thinking, God, I think I'm nice. Like I think I'm good. Like I like myself, and it was just the most amazing feeling. And I've just wanted to create that for people since then. Yeah.
So there's evidently quite a lot of challenges with the upbringing you had, and it's so nice to hear that you speak so positively about an industry, recruitment, that allowed you to feel seen and valued, because recruiters are, I guess, analysed by the amount of value that they give to two different clients, right? It's the candidates that we can get into work, and it's the clients that we can help out. And when that magic happens, and you'll probably remember this, it's a very addictive feeling where you place someone who might have had challenges or might have been unhappy into a company, and the company is happy, like over the moon because you've placed them, but then the candidate is equally as happy, and they both like say a nice word about you, right your route. There's no better feeling. I struggle to find a better feeling in my day-to-day life where it doesn't always happen like this, but when the magic happens and both parties are very, very happy and thank you for the service, like you feel wonderful. And I'm sure you still remember that now.
I remember one in particular. I was parking up outside Marks and Spencer's going in to buy a new outfit for something. And even now I remember her phoning me and him phoning me. And it's like, yeah, the best feeling. It is the most amazing feeling.
It's addictive.
It is addictive. It is so much so that I was in that industry despite the long hours, and despite the fact that you're not always proud to tell people that you're a recruiter. I remember being at a wedding once in my sort of late 20s, and we were all on the table, and I was like, oh, what do you do? And there was this chap, and I said, oh, I'm a recruiter. And he said, oh, you mean you're a cockroach? And I was like, you're the ones that are phoning me all day. Because a big part of what we do is cold calling, right? It's probably, I don't know if it still is now. I've not been in recruitment for a really long time, but very much back then it was like 100 cold calls a month. Otherwise you don't get part of your basic bonus, all that kind of stuff. So you did get told to F off quite a lot. And to stay in an industry, I think the industry has a shelf life of 6 years. So to stay in it for 12 years, I really did love it. It's
a very short-sighted comment, something like that, isn't it, to speak down to a recruiter, because I know some recruiters outside of myself and the business that I work with that are like incredibly intelligent, and solve problems that aren't even problems before clients can realize it. I think they get paid very well. And we not sure about when your industry, but recruitment does pay very well.
It paid
And
well.
I think that's in correlation to the amount of stress and accountability on our shoulders to deliver to two clients simultaneously. Because you mentioned earlier that it's very hard to sell a person because person has human emotions and they can change at any point. Whereas if you sell glasses like this, the glass just turns up and works.
You literally, that's what I used to say to people all the time, like
It's
word
so
for word
difficult.
what you just said. It would be so much easier if I was just telling chairs.
Yeah.
But you can be a different person in the morning as you are in the afternoon, and clash with different people. But the human psychology, I mean, what I did in university was predominantly around psychology, and I'm still, that's why I retrained, and that fascinates me. So yeah, I'm not sure selling anything else could have quite kept my interest as long as it did. But aren't people amazing? And you get to go out and talk about how amazing they are. Like, this is my person today, and I'm going to phone people and tell them how amazing she is. Like, I loved my job.
So you were in there for 12 years. We won't cover everything you did, but just tell us the industries that you were in. Was it always the same?
Let me just have a quick drink. Sorry. Yes, pretty much. I mean, it was like professional services. So my first job was admin, the real hearts and bolts of a business, like the support work, the administrators, the PAs, the receptionists, the people that matter the most, I think. And then I went into a finance and accountancy recruitment. And then I went into more sort of senior project ops, MD, FD, stuff like that. But it was pretty much always the similar sector. I didn't go into anything too niche. And then I left.
So thinking back to all those different variations of recruitment responsibilities you had, like what things stand out as prominent that you've taken with you from 12 years in industry to what you do now?
Understanding that if you don't understand people, you don't understand business. And that nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. That was the big thing for me. The recession kicked in 2010. And as a recruiter, we had lots of people coming into our offices that they were out of work, right? There was people making redundancies left, right, and centre. And they were coming into our office, and we just had no jobs for them. Like, there was literally nothing going on in the industry. And I remember these two ladies came in, and they must have sat next to each other for like 25 years. They were in their 50s. I mean, to sit next to somebody for 8 hours a day for 25 years, like, people don't even do that with their partners, right? It was a really intense relationship, and then and a big part of each other's lives. And then to rock up one day, and the business is there's just a note on the door to say that we went into administration at midnight. Somebody will be in touch. And they were in our offices, and I could see them crying. And my PA had come in and said, "There's these ladies, will you see them?" And I was like, "Well, they haven't got an appointment." And she just looked at me and she went, "Please, will you see them?" And I was like, "Okay." And I now know why. As I walked around the corner, and they looked like they were going off to church. They dressed really well. It was a really big deal coming into the city to meet with recruiters. And I thought, God, how the courage it must have taken them, because it's 2010 when they were out of work last time. There was no internet. So it was a very different place for them, 25 years prior to that. And they didn't catch me. But as I walked around the corner, they were holding hands. And when they saw me, they quickly pulled their hands back in an attempt to look professional. And I remember sitting with it. It's one of those moments I wish I could relive, actually, because I walked in and I pretended I hadn't noticed. I mean, I was 30. As a 44-year-old woman now, I would handle that situation very differently. But as a 30-year-old, I just sat there and I pretended I hadn't noticed. I pretended I hadn't seen them. And what was going on. And maybe that's what they needed. Maybe they didn't want me to raise the fact that one of them was clearly crying and they'd been holding hands, but I didn't reference it. And I just went into all professional. And I did get them jobs, and sadly not together, but I got them jobs. But I often look back and think, if I could just in that moment realize that being human doesn't mean that you're not being professional, that I still could have embraced them. I could have maybe held their hand, maybe acknowledged the way they were feeling before I dived into their CV, then it would have been more of a meaningful moment. And I think about that a lot. And it wasn't long after that I quit recruitment and started my started my previous startup, which I've gone on to sell now, but which became a passion of mine for another decade of my career. And I think that moment was a real teaching for me, is that nobody cares. You can be the smartest, you can be all of the things, but nobody cares what you've got to say until they know how much you care about them first. And that was a big learning for me.
It's very powerful. That still sticks with you.
all
10 years ago?
Oh, 14.
Wow.
14 years ago.
Very powerful. I think I have gone through that journey myself as well. And there's something that I've realized over probably the last 4 years, in that there's everyone has different identities depending on where they are. So if you're with your family, you might be more family orientated, but if you go into business and into the work setting, you might act a little bit different. You might not use the same lingo you use at home. And especially when you go see your friends, then you're even more different. You're like a completely different person. Your work colleagues would not even recognize you with your friends. And something I've been working really hard over the last 4 years is to bring those three, or however many there are, people closer together. It's impossible to be the one person everywhere, because I say impossible.
You don't want to be. It wouldn't serve you or the other people.
No, but you want to bring it closer so that if you were I think anyway, so if you were human with your family, then it comes into a work setting and that situation, you can just be yourself with them as well. And with your friends, there's no crossover, and you don't get tired because you're having to change personalities. That's something I've learned over the last few years, and I think it's been worked really, really well in recruitment, especially because I'm the same with the people on the phone, the people that I meet, to my girlfriend and the cleaner in the office. There's no difference between anyone. They all get treated exactly the same.
Have you ever done any values work?
Loads. I've done a lot of work on myself, yeah.
So your values are written all over your behaviours, aren't they? You'll see them in the way that you speak to your girlfriend, as you speak to a client, as the way you speak to me or a stranger on the street. Your values, as Elvis Presley said, your values are written over everything that you do. And you're allowed to change behaviours. Who I am when I'm sat here with you, or in a session with a client, is very different than if I was on a hen do in Vegas. But I'm still the same person. My values are still the same. It's when you don't know what your values are, when you don't know what that compass looks like, when you don't have an idea of who you actually are and what's important, when you're trying to be this to that person, you're trying to aspire to be this because that looks good, when you have no idea who you are. And it's really, really easy in a world now where you jump on social media and you see what everybody's doing and what everybody's achieving, and you live the whole sort of social media BS that you see online. It's really easy to just compare yourself, and I should be a bit more that, I should be a bit more that. But when you have a really good idea of who you are, everything just flows, and it's easier, and it's exhausting trying to be all things to all people. But when you know who you are, and you bring, like you said beautifully, then you bring all of that closer together, you know, and you accept, and you know that you're going to be different in terms of behaviour, but who you are is exactly the same. And you know what rooms you thrive in, what rooms you die a death, where you should play, where you should definitely not play. You know all this about you. Yeah.
It's very well put. I completely agree, actually. It's like a moral compass which works for you subconsciously. It keeps you going to where the direction you want to go, and you know your values along the way. And you're not swayed by trends, or you're not swayed by other people's.
Yeah, or big decisions that you've not been faced with before. So should I go for this promotion? Should I start this business with my mate? Should I nurture this relationship or let it go? Should I ask that person to mentor me or that person to mentor me? And when you need to do values work is when you make a decision, and even when you've made it, you keep going back, going, have I made the right decision? Or when you can't make a decision at all and you end up asking 20 people, what should I do about this situation? None of them are qualified to critique you, because none of them have ever been in your situation before, possibly, rather than actually listen to your own voice. So if you find yourself struggling over big decisions, and small decisions, then you definitely know you need to tap into some values work. Or maybe you did do values work, but who you were when you were 22 is not who you are at 32, or certainly 42 or 44. And big life things can happen. You can lose a job, you can lose a parent, you can become a parent, a relationship could end. And that will shift your values. I mean, some values are so core in that DNA, they're not going anywhere. Like my North Star, my independence, like that. It's like the whole what was the quote? Give me the child till he's 7 and I'll show you the man. You know, there's some values that ain't going anywhere, but a lot of them can evolve. So tapping into that values piece, especially during, you know, like you're on a phenomenal growth at the moment. Like it's you know, you're just through the you know, through the ceiling. It's worth rechecking in with those values regularly, weekly, monthly, quarterly, because, you know, especially when you're going through such high growth, you're changing and evolving faster than you would normally do. So yeah, your values and your relationship with yourself is the most important thing for any business or career success.
It's very well put. What about the time you decided to leave recruitment? Like, when did that first thought come into your head? You think, you know what, I want to get out. And how long did it take you to actually get out?
It's really quick, actually. When I make a decision, I make it really fast because I'm already visualizing myself doing the thing. That not doing the thing is so painful. It's like if I'm quitting a job, it's like I'm already out kind of thing. So I started CareerCake, which is my YouTube channel, just making videos to help people that were coming into our offices in recruitment, right? And I was like, well, I don't have any jobs, but here's my YouTube channel. And it was 2010, so nobody was really doing anything on YouTube back then. Not the, you know, respected e-learning platform that it is now. But I was just making videos in my kitchen, like, this is how you write a CV, this is how you get a cover, this is how you write a cover letter kind of thing. And then that got pretty big pretty quickly, again, because the world certainly didn't need another career coach in 2010, but I knew that nobody would care how much I know until they knew how much I care. So I was really, really open and honest with why I was doing it. And that I genuinely cared about people. And I got to about 5 million hits quite quickly, and that YouTube channel became quite big. And it was almost like, I can't not do it now. I can't not. And remember as well, that my level of risk is quite high because I've been in uncomfortable situations from a, you know, so what some people would be like, oh, that's really scary. To me, it's like putting the kettle on. So I'm very aware that my that my journey is not the same as a lot of people's. But no, and I just believed and backed myself.
So you had started the YouTube channel whilst you were still employed?
Yeah.
And then it took off.
Yeah.
And then one of the main reasons or motivators for you to actually leave full-time employment was that the YouTube
I was
had
just
taken
so
off?
in love with it that I couldn't fake it. I can't fake anything. Like, I'm like, you know, all over. If I don't want to be somewhere, you'll know. So, yeah, I couldn't pretend. You know, I was listening to Usher Pop Your Collar 10 times in the car just to have the, you know, the guts to walk in the office in the morning because I just didn't want to be there. So I just needed to get out and have a lovely, lovely relationship with my last director in recruitment. Lovely. In fact, I had a call with her recently. She set up her own business. Learned loads from her. She's a wonderful woman. And I remember her saying, I knew I wouldn't keep you for long. I was like, sorry. I've made loads of mistakes. I think I know. Now I'm going to make a whole load of new mistakes, but I'm not going to make the mistakes that I made last time. And but I do remember a lot of people in recruitment going, I can't believe you're quitting your job to do YouTube. I remember there's somebody, I won't mention him because I think he's quite well known. But I was like, how are you actually making money, Beaters? Like, what? Because YouTube was such a new thing, but I was obsessed with Gary Vee back when he was Wine Library TV. So he wasn't even he was still making videos about wine, but I remember thinking, oh, Wine Library TV, CareerCake TV, I could do something like that.
Fair play to taking the jump, because recruitment pays you just well enough to stay.
I was earning 6 figures at the time.
Yeah, it pays you well enough to stay.
My last salary in recruitment was 110 grand. And I went from that to earning nothing. And I didn't even save that much money, which is really sad. To basically eating potatoes for 6 months. I looked like a spud because all I could afford was jacket potatoes. So rented out my flat, moved into a box room with a friend in a shared house, and earned no money for like 3 years, like nothing. Yeah, but was like scrappy and loving it and building and happy and thriving.
Well, let's wrap up your recruitment part of your career. Like, imagine, because there probably will be some people in recruitment watching this, or sales, you know, anything that's generally outbound client facing, and they're probably fed up for the context of this made up story, like what sort of things could you say to them if they're thinking, I just want to get out, but I can't?
Get out. Just get out. Life's too short to do shit you hate. Get out. Make a plan. Squirrel a little bit of money away and get out. Make a plan. Because honestly, I see people in recruitment go into all industries. Like if you understand people, you understand business. Like you can make a plan and thrive.
So just get moving.
Just do it. Yeah.
out.
The thing about recruitment is it makes you think that when you're in it, you kind of think, because you live and breathe it and the hours are so long, and all my mates worked in recruitment. We all used to meet after work. It's a real social industry as well, right? You just think there's no big world out there, which is mad because the whole point of what you do is put people into jobs. It's like, but that world exists for you too. You have the skills because you're putting other people into jobs. So just switch it up and do it for yourself.
I think why a lot of people go into recruitment is because it's such a low barrier to entry as well. There's no qualification compared to like software engineering or project management where you have to have qualifications behind you.
Where else can you earn six figures when
in year 3 or 4?
Yeah. With not needing any qualifications.
You brought up the word psychology a few times, which is one of my favorite topics. Absolutely love it. Why don't you think people understand people as much as they probably should? Just a sweeping statement.
Why people don't understand themselves or why they don't understand other people?
Externally first, because a lot of people that we work with, many people around me, through no right or wrongdoing, they maybe don't understand the decision-making process in like humans, the psychology behind why people do what they do. And I just don't know if there's a motivation to understand that. So externally first, why do you think that is?
Such a good question. I've never had this conversation with anyone before. That's such a good question. Because we don't get taught it. Like we get taught about, how many wives King Henry VIII had, but I don't get taught about empathy. I know about decimal places. Well, that's quite important actually, but you know what I mean? Like algebra and all that, and the Battle of Hastings, which I'm obsessed with. I'm a massive history nerd. But then we don't talk about how to handle conflict in a conversation. LinkedIn did something about 10 years ago, and it was called the Compassion Curriculum. And they funded it, and I think it was massive. I was at an EdTech conference in Utah a few years ago, and they were putting it into something like 20 schools across the US and kindergarten age, where they were teaching compassion. And they were teaching empathy, and they were teaching self-understanding. And what a beautiful thing to put into a curriculum. Just incredible. So I think that's because you get to the workplace and you've spent, and it's alien to you to stop and think about something from somebody else's perspective. It doesn't come naturally to us, right? That's almost like taught behavior. Some people, it comes naturally. If you're an empath, it comes naturally. Good things about being an empath and bad things about being an empath as well. It can be exhausting. But if we were intentionally taught that, like how amazing would things be?
The world would be a different place.
Yeah.
Very different
Or
place.
if you were told to, watch a TED talk every Monday morning at school or something, but we're not. We're not. A lot of the time it's just, let's just survive.
We've got a mutual contact, Mark Hindmarsh, who is doing something similar to that LinkedIn investment that you said. They're teaching kindergarten kids empathy. Mark and the team at 2B Enterprise and are teaching enterprise skills is a loose term, but things like confidence and eye contact and team building and communication. And obviously, with us being a partner to one of the schools, we went in and seen it in action.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did
So
you
the kids
see
are
it?
5 to 6 years old. We are writing them a business card. And they've got to come up to me and shake my hand
Did
and introduce.
they?
It's so good, so good.
Oh.
And I personally never. I don't think you would have, or many people would have had that growing up.
Oh no.
Like nothing at all. And to the fact that it's now at primary school level, even sooner in high school, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
Okay, that was a tough question. Maybe it might be a bit easier on the internal side. So why do you think many people don't do much work on themselves?
Because they haven't got time. They haven't got time. They're too busy just trying to survive. They are going through school. In your family environment, you're just trying to be what your parents want you to be because you want approval. And then you go to school and you're just trying to be what the teachers want you to be, or your peers, or not be bullied, or, you know, we're the best trainers or whatever, and just, again, survive through school. You have no idea who you are. You're figuring things out, right? Finding your place in the world. What am I good at? What am I not good at? What do I like? What don't I like? Do I like this, or do I just like it because my friends like it? Or should I do this? Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. So we're just trying to fit in. And then we get to the workplace and you're paid based on a skill set. But what if you don't like doing that skill set? Like, your strengths and your skills are not always the same thing. And then you enter into relationships. It's just, when do you have time? I mean, it's a work of a lifetime to find out who you are, to meet yourself. I have a program now where I do 4 cohorts a year, and it's not easy work. It's hard work. You know, there's tears. You have to admit some of your failures. You have to meet some of the parts about yourself that you don't actually like. You have to admit that you've made mistakes. You might have to admit that you're actually in the wrong relationship and in the wrong job, and your whole life is not the right life. Like, it's a really, really hard situation to go through, and it's much easier to just avoid it. If you even have time to even think about that in a day. Like, who has time to think about, you know, when you've got kids and work and you're just trying to prove everything to everybody? I see it all the time, and I have the most deepest empathy because I was it. Because for a huge part of my business journey, I've been so unhappy, and I didn't know why, but I never had time to just stop and find that out. So if people can just work with me now, even just for like 2 months, and I can help them figure out who they are, then, or don't work with me, work with somebody else, but take the time. Yeah, you won't regret it.
So time is the main reason.
And how do you do it? So I don't think it's the main reason. I think it's one of the reasons, but I think also it's like, how do I meet myself? I mean, there is a book in me, and it is going to be all about that. But like, how do you meet yourself? What questions do you ask? And I think I know my values, but are they my values, or are they values that I aspire? You know, all of these things are things that clients say to me. How do you cut out the noise in a really noisy world when you're scrolling 50 meters of content on your phone every day? Like, how do you cut out the noise to find out who you are? It's a difficult process to do, and it's very, very difficult to do it alone.
Yeah, the thing that you said at the end there was, it's easier just to not do it. Is pretty true for most people. I think the one word to sum it up from my perspective is just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, most of it is uncomfortable. Even if you do it on yourself, it's horrible because you're in your head all day, regularly trying to work things out. If you're doing it externally, you've got to admit things that you don't even admit to yourself to someone in front of you. That's very, very tough from a therapy or a coach perspective as well. So I agree.
Spot on.
Yeah. So CareerCake, the big, most time-consuming project of yours, I imagine, from a professional perspective, the last 10 years before you sold it?
It took everything out of me.
So
I left some of me there, actually.
Yeah. So you start, the YouTube channel took off, you've left recruitment. When did CareerCake itself, in that name, form? Like, when was that the goal?
Immediately.
Straight away.
Yeah, it was my YouTube channel for 5 years. And lots of people knew me as the cake woman. But yeah, it was my YouTube channel, and I did a lot of talking. I did some programs for BBC Learning, BBC Three, all based on the fact that I was Aimee Bateman of CareerCake. CareerCake was my YouTube channel. It was my consultancy, really. And then I built up this beautiful community, but had a lot of people that were coming to me with advice. They'd gotten the job, but then they wanted some advice about stuff that I didn't know the answer to. I was like, well, I can get you a job, but I don't know. Like, I'm gay, how do I tell people? Or I'm being bullied, what do I do? Or I'm a leader for the first time, and I'm thinking, I'm not best qualified to critique you. And I'm really, one of my biggest things in life, and I think it was because when I was younger, people would always tell me what to do, having no idea about stuff. It really bothers me when people try to give advice on a topic that they're not qualified to give. Like, it really bothers me. I need to do some work on that. I think I know where that comes from. Don't need to go into it now, but I think I know where that comes from. But it does really bother me. So I wasn't going to just jump on and go, well, do this, do this, do this. So I would just say, I don't know. Like, I'm not the best person, but this person. And, you know, I know a lot of people that are smarter than me. So I would just keep referring to people that I knew. And in the end, I was like, this is a business. This is it. this is the next stage. Because I was starting to get a bit bored. Things felt a bit easy. I wasn't pushing myself. I wasn't growing. I was independent. So that box was ticked. But a lot of my other core values, so one of my core values being creativity and confidence, as in I need to feel uncomfortable on a regular basis. Otherwise, I need to ace and master really hard things on a regular basis for me to feel fulfilled and happy. It's one of my core values. And that wasn't happening. So I decided that I would build a platform. So to go out and raise money to build this thing, this wasn't something I could build on my own. Didn't know anyone with money. So went and raised money to build that, raised venture capital, and had some angel investors come on board. And again, built a team. So for the last 8 years, it was myself and a very small team. But almost half the journey was me on my own, building up the equity and the brand so that investors would invest in me in the first place. So I have an idea, and I work a lot in the venture capital and investment space now. I'm a mentor with Creative UK, and we take about 15 startups through their investment journey a year. And I know very well now, and I kind of knew it then, you don't rock up to somebody and say, hi, can I have £250,000 because I've got an idea. You know, there needs to be some kind of substance there. And I had like 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, and there was quite a big brand equity there. But yeah, building that and getting that product to market, which was essentially it was like Netflix, but for career development, was a really big journey that I would not have been able to do on my own. But luckily, I was able to have a fantastic team, and my investors were brilliant as well.
Well, you touched on my next topic there, which I'm very interested in, because you've successfully raised money, which is tough to do anyway, regardless of anything. It's very, very tough to raise money on an idea, certainly pre-revenue, or if it's doing small amounts of revenue. Like, how do you review that time in your life now? When you think back about it, what's the...
And as a woman, so less than 2% of funding goes to a woman, a female-founded business. I mean, how I look back on it, and I just feel so proud, like so proud. Even the moments where I look back and cringe at some of the things I did, some of the things I wore. I had this like really spiky fringe once, because I thought I went to this like EdTech conference in California to pitch in Silicon Valley, and I thought if I had a spiky fringe, I wouldn't be the girl from Barry Island. I'd look techie, right? It was just stupid. And I bought a t-shirt with a toucan on it, thinking I'd look super cool. And yeah, I'll definitely get investment if I've got a spiky fringe and a toucan on my t-shirt. And I look back at it, and I look at all of it with just love and empathy, because she did it. Like, she absolutely did it. I remember there was one conference. We'd had a verbal yes from a couple of investors, but we had like $3,000 in the bank account, and it was me and 2 others. And those 2 others were with me until the very end and helped me build it. But I remember saying, look, if I could just get to this conference in the US and meet this, it was the head of LinkedIn Learning. They just sold lynda.com to LinkedIn Learning. And I always wanted to sell the company to LinkedIn Learning. So I was like, if I could just meet them, I know we're not ready to buy yet because we've got no money, we haven't built anything yet, but if I could just meet him, and if he knew who we were, then we could make this thing happen. But we've got no money in the bank. And the ticket for the conference was £2,500 just for the conference, and then I had flights and stuff. And they were like, I was like, I don't think we're going to get paid, because we've only had a verbal yes from the investors. And I remember sitting in a pub on Cathedral Road with them, and I said, should I go? And they were like, yes, just go. And I was like, okay, sure. And they were like, yeah, go. We don't care. Just go. We'll lend you money if we have to. Like, just go. And I had one hot meal in 5 days. And I flew there, had all the money that I had. And that's a massive risk, a huge risk. But I researched, I knew when his talk was. I researched if somebody's on the stage and they're looking in the crowd, where do their eyes fall? Because wherever their eyes fall, I'm sitting in that seat. And I researched, and it's to the left. We read left to right. We scan a room left to right. It's about 30% behind. So if there's 10 rows, you want to be in seat 3, and you want to be roughly 60% in. And I did all of that so that I would sit in that seat. And I got there early, and I sat in that seat. And I was stealing muffins from breakfast in this awful motel that had blood on my sheets, pretending that I was staying in the grand hotel that everybody was staying in. I mean, there was like Andre Agassi was doing a keynote that afternoon. It was like I was in a room with like, it was crazy, 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 crazy people. But he finished his keynote. Mordy Golding, his name is, put his hand up, and I said, any questions? And I put my hand up. I don't remember what I asked him. I think it's still on YouTube, the video. And you just hear this little Welsh accent going, but he knew who I was. And then I ran up to him afterwards and I made sure I got in his face and I gave him my business card. And, you know, I didn't say, oh, I haven't eaten for 3 days. I flew all the way across the world just to meet you. Oh my God. And went back, closed the investment round. Thank goodness the money hit our bank account. And then we went into the studio for 6 months, didn't even think about it, just making content to launch the product. And then we got an email saying, I work for Mordy. We love your stuff. We've been watching you. Can we distribute your content? And that just changed the game for us. That was like, we became one of the largest licensors of content, UK content, to LinkedIn Learning overnight. And it was because of that we got acquired. So, you know, without a doubt, those moments when you feel like a massive imposter, massive risk. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had kids. I'm very aware of that. But at that time in my life, big risk, but big payoff.
What a story. I was going to ask about the return on investment, but quite obviously going over there, a few £1,000s, meeting him, it's hard to say, right?
And also, he's a beautiful man and he became a mentor to me, and still now is in my, you know, I'm in contact with him and he still inspires me now. Yeah, great man. And that, for me, you know, CareerCake's long gone. Well, it's not long gone. It's owned by another company now. And they've taken it to another level, which is brilliant. But in my life, CareerCake is gone. But my relationship with him and the 2 people that sat with me in that pub and said, go and do it, you know, they're still in my life. And that's really important to me.
So when you founded the company, it was 10 years before you sold it. What are a couple of the pivotal moments that you want to share, either good or bad, which will give people a perspective on what it's like to run a business like that?
The first thing I would say is remember to celebrate the small wins. And I really struggled with that. And people would have heard that. And it's whether you're an entrepreneur or you're in a team doing something new, or during challenging times. I used to think I can't celebrate small wins because I felt like that was weird, because then I would be setting myself up for small goals. But actually, when you're in an environment where you're getting a lot of wins, right? So you're in a job where everyone knows your name, you're in an established company, you've got loads and loads of clients. You know, those wins, they happen all the time, right? Sometimes weekly, daily. But when you're starting something from scratch, whether that's in a business or your own business, those wins are few and far between. Like, you get the investment or you get that win and you celebrate it, and then you don't feel it for a really long time because you're still getting market fit, right? Customers are saying, no, thank you. Investors are putting pressure on you, and that's okay because that's their job. And people don't want to come and work for you because you can't pay them the salaries. You know, you're going to bed every night thinking, I'm not achieving. Nobody said well done today. Nobody said thank you. Like, I didn't do anything of value today because it's scrappy in the beginning. So every time you get a win, even if it's really superficial, you have to celebrate it for your own mental health, but also for your team, for everybody that's in the trenches building this thing with you, for your husband who hasn't seen you I remember when I met my husband, I was like, just give me like a couple more years and I'll be the best wife ever. I didn't leave my hotel room for 3 days on my honeymoon because I just closed an investment round. It was like, I promise I'll be there for you. But so in those early days, you've got to celebrate everything. So I would definitely, and we don't want to be like too superficial but like anything to do with growth, you really want to celebrate those moments because your soul's going to need them.
That's really great advice. And I've fallen guilty of that before. And I know every single person watching this will have fallen guilty as well. And when you think back, I suppose it may be same in yours, there isn't really any big wins. Like, it's just a compound of small wins consistently, apart from selling the business or maybe.
But even that didn't feel like a win. That's the biggest anticlimax in the world. Yeah. But like, I was like, was that it?
Yeah. But that comes back to celebrating the small things, because life is just small thing after small thing.
And if you said to me what are the best things in your life, that wouldn't even be in the top 5. It was like all of a sudden, like, my bank account looked different than it did the day before, but no, it was such an anticlimax. Yeah, such an anticlimax.
And that led you to start in, or played a part in, what you do now, I assume, because I'm not speaking for you here, correct me if I'm wrong, but the loss of identity after selling a company, which many people speak about, and you worked really hard on yourself, and now that's what you help other people do as well with your executive coaching business.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah. So I had a baby like 3 weeks after I sold the company, so I was pretty busy for a while. And that's a huge identity shift. So in a month, I had sold the thing that had been my entire identity for 10 years. You know, any entrepreneur will understand that. That disappeared quite, in a nice way, because I built it to sell it. So it was always going to disappear. And then I became a mum. And it was like, gosh, it was just a huge identity shift. So that year was the best year of my life, but also the most uncomfortable and hardest year of my life. And it's something I'm still navigating. It's only been 3 years, and I wonder if I'll always, but what it did do is it encouraged me to go on a journey of self-discovery. Why was I so unhappy for such a long time when on the surface I had built everything that I wanted to build? Why didn't it feel good? These are big questions. I used to think maybe I was just not very good at pressure, and that was why I was so unhappy towards the end. Because, you have something, it makes zero, you take investment, you have to get it to here before the cash runs out. Like that's a very, very different, if you're building a business based on an investment-backed, exit-led business, that's a very different business model. You have to get 5-10 times valuation in a really short amount of time. Massive pressure. And I used to think, maybe it's just the pressure, but I'm good at dealing with pressure. Like, look at where I came from. Like, I'm okay with dealing with pressure. So what was it? And it was then when I decided that I wanted to take this time. And it was a luxury, actually, because I did have the time. I mean, I had a little baby, but I didn't have to go back to work. There was no job to do. So I did have a bit of time. And that's when I took more training within executive coaching. And you can't be a coach unless you've been coached. So it was just, and I was like, I didn't go through all that for nothing, Kieran. Like, I didn't go through that massive journey. That roller coaster. I didn't go through all that. And there were some beautiful moments in there and some tough moments in there. And not just for me, but for my team too, because we all lived it. We all made sacrifices. I didn't go through that for nothing. And I genuinely think that everything that I've gone through has brought me and has led me to the work that I'm doing now. And I feel so fulfilled. I think when we first met, I looked at you and I said, this is the best thing I've ever done. It doesn't earn as much money as it used to do. I don't work as many hours, but I have never been happier than helping and I work with men too, but my program is specifically for women leaders, just due to the restraints and the experiences that are quite unique to us on our journey. It's the best work I've ever done. Best work I've ever done. And this is, it's like, now I get it. Now I know why all that had to happen.
Yeah. I imagine because you can see the impact very quickly when you're dealing with someone one-to-one or in a group setting. You can see the impact, like emotionally, and maybe as soon as they leave and they give you feedback in a few weeks or a few months, you can see that direct impact and how much it helps someone improve. And that's very powerful, just to see it in one person.
One thing I would definitely advise anybody listening to this is if something doesn't feel right or something just feels off, you don't know why, a really good exercise to do, which my coach did with me 5 years ago, and I do it with all of the people that I work with now, is to just close your eyes, get somewhere really quiet for like 15 minutes, just close your eyes, make sure you're not disturbed, and just take a couple of deep breaths and just visualize what your ideal day would look like, what your ideal life would look like. Where are you? What are you doing for a living? Like professionally, what are you doing? Who are you working with? What are you wearing? Where are you sat? What conversations are you having? Who are you collaborating with? Who are you serving? What cause are you all working towards? Who are you helping? What are you earning? Imagine all of that. And then open your eyes and just write it all down. And then just think how far away. And maybe you are imagining your reality. Maybe you could open your eyes and go, do you know what? I'm pretty much there. And we all have days where we want to put a pen in our eye because we hate our day. Like, that's fine. That's part of the gig, right? But I did that 5 years ago, and I woke up and my face was soaking wet with tears because I woke up and I had imagined being in this room, this very nice big Victorian house which I don't own yet, but will. This lovely big, nothing too fancy, but just having snacks and drinking tea and chatting. There was about 8 women in this room, and they were all thriving. They were full of love and gratitude, and I've been some small part of that by coaching or mentoring them. And I opened my eyes, and my reality was, I was so sad, because I was like, that is not where I am. Like 10 million people have watched my career courses in 42 countries. 25,000 people are watching. You could watch my courses on a flight to Dubai, India. Like, they were part of your in-flight entertainment. Like, I was having all of this impact. I was helping people thrive, but I wasn't having any conversations with anyone. I was lacking connection, engagement, friendship, and I still get emotional thinking about it now, because I remember that feeling, and I was like, that's what I have to build. And that's what my program is. It's just 10 women. We do 4 cohorts a year. We meet every week virtually, although sometimes I do get to see them in person, and we go through this journey together. I could sell it, I could scale it, but I don't want to. It's that intimacy that my soul needs. Like, I need it to feel happy and content. And I do. And that's authentic success, when you can say that. And I think to be able to say that at 44, I think is, I feel like I'm very lucky.
Definitely. But you would have had to go through, as you said, the CareerCake journey to be able to provide so much value.
And prior to CareerCake, all this that I had to navigate before that. And all of that I've still yet to navigate, because I'm not dead yet. There's still a lot of journeys and chapters to go. But I feel like I've got enough, and that's just like the best. And I want everyone to feel like that.
I'm going to send you a copy of my Alchemy of Self, which is exactly what you mentioned just there about closing your eyes, thinking about what you want and writing it down. I'm going to send you just a picture of mine after, and you can
Will
see.
you?
Yeah,
I'd
it's
love
mine's
that.
13 pages long.
Love that.
I got A4 pages of writing and pictures.
I would love to.
I'll send it
Would
to
you
you.
share that?
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
really...
I'll send it to you. You can have a look at it.
Yeah, gosh, thank you.
That's wonderful. I'm sure, because I know we get a lot of women listeners as well, that would be wonderful to have someone like you around them. Like, 2 questions here. How important is it for you to have a coach, do you think? And then, second question, do you have coaches that you still have around you today and you meet regularly?
Yeah. So I have a coach. I have 2 coaches, 2 different areas, and I also have mentors. But yeah, so I coach women, but I'm also very, very aware that not everybody can have a coach. Not everybody can afford a coach. But I believe everyone should have one. So I have my podcast. I have a weekly newsletter that goes out on a Tuesday, and it's basically one coaching lesson that I've learned from somebody that is paying me from my practice. And I share that, obviously without names, but to my community, so that even though they have one piece of self-reflection homework. So every week it's like, right, here's your homework for this week, which I would give to clients, but I give it to people on my newsletter. Everyone needs a coach, I think.
Yeah, I do as well. I think it's very hard to find the right coach. I've spoken to many people, met many people. I think that's the main reason why people wouldn't get a coach, is they struggle to find the right person that they match with, gel with, have a connection with.
Same with mentors, isn't it?
Very difficult.
And advisors, board advisors. I always say break up with them first. So if you're ever going to ask somebody to mentor you, it's a bit different with coaches, because with a coach there's usually money involved, right? So it's a bit more of a clear transaction. But certainly with a mentor or like an NED or a board advisor or just something like that, where there's not money passing, always say to somebody, will you mentor me for the next 6 months, 12 weeks, while I specifically go through this period? Because I've had mentors before who have mentored me, and then very, very quickly I've outgrown them. And quite rightly so. Like, if I'm mentoring somebody in 6 to 12 months, you should be smarter than me. Like, if you haven't outgrown me, I haven't done my job properly as a mentor, right? So your mentors, you have to up your mentors. And I would find myself going to mentoring meetings pretending to be small to make them feel big, because I couldn't get anything. Yeah, I had like a few problems, but I've already sorted them because I'm not who I was 6 months ago or 12 months ago or 2 years ago when you started mentoring me. Like I've outgrown you, kind of thing. And that's normal and that's okay. And we can't be. So I always say, give them a time frame so that you don't have to do what I did, which was rock up and pretend that you're not as smart as you actually are. And then obviously if it's going well and you want to continue, being around them, then you just organically continue it. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a very uncomfortable conversation.
It's just a waste of everybody's time, right?
No one wants to go first. You don't want to say you've outgrown them. They might be able to sense it, but don't want to say it.
They always do.
They always
In
sense
my
it.
situation, they've always sensed it.
This conversation's been so good. I can't believe an hour's flew by already. But I got to ask what's next. I know family life is very important to you right now. Executive coaching business, which we'll share some details with after for anyone that's interested. But is there anything else that you've got coming up, either personally or professionally, which you're very excited to share? Or is it all confidential?
No, it's nothing confidential. God, no. Just doing what I'm doing. It's 3 years since I sold that business. And I had a year of just experimenting, was in lots of different spaces. It was like my year of experimenting, finding out who I was. And I'm there. I nailed it. So it was just more of this now. My female further cohort, lots more speaking. There might be a book, like I said, at some point. But no, this all suits me and very happy with where it's at. So just more of this.
Good. And what about dipping your toe back into business? Not from starting a business perspective, but do you feel
scalable investment-backed business?
Yeah. Do you feel like you would want to go on that journey?
No, not at the moment. Not at the moment. Like I said, I still work with. It was only last week I was with a group of founders that were pitching. So I help them with their pitching. I'm in rooms with investors all the time, predominantly screen companies, so media, TV, film, and gaming companies. That's why me and Mark speak quite a bit. But I'm in that world. 1-2 days a week anyway. Like I'm in that world. I just like being the ones that support the founders through that journey now, rather than being. But I mean, I'm running a business. I'm still an entrepreneur, but I certainly wouldn't see myself running an investment-backed, exit-driven business again. Tick, done that.
Done it. All right, quick fire, 3 questions. Okay. It's the last episode. I'm going to just fire these off the top of my head. I haven't even thought of them. Do you read?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, cool. Best book you'd recommend to anyone?
What a hard question.
Name 2 then. If it's easier to do a couple.
Oh gosh. The best book. Okay. One, probably The Psychology of Money.
Oh, love that. Morgan Housel.
Yeah. Love that book. And another one would probably be The Mountain Is You, which is all about self-discovery.
Nice.
Yeah.
Best bit of advice you've ever had? Like a statement, a quote, just a past bit of advice you had from someone you're working with? What's the one thing that sticks with you?
Probably that nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
I like that one. I haven't heard anyone say that before. I do like that one. And one habit that you developed, don't have to be a habit now. What was one thing that you changed on a daily basis that changed everything for you?
Serve others. The quickest way to be valued, to feel valued, is to give value. So make sure that in those moments where you think, I can't do this, or am I good enough to do this, just go out and serve somebody. Go out and help somebody, because we all know somebody that we can help today. Yeah, it's the biggest way for us to remember how kick-ass and capable we are.
A great way to end the podcast. I feel exactly the same. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And that's it. That is the final episode of season 1. We really hope you enjoyed this episode and all of the episodes before this. Please be patient with us. We'll be releasing new episodes early into the new year, and we hope you'll continue on this journey with us. Thank you very much.